Y'all, I'm back. So I started doing this and I realized that I skipped a chapter, and it turns out it was a very meaningful, important chapter, and nothing was making sense. So, yeah, this is one of the most important chapters to date. So I got to do this right. Chapter 38, Grundle. Amazing. They were alive. It was real. Portillion saved their lives, no matter what he might say to the contrary. For the first time, Grundle understood what Portillion really was. He was an answer to a prayer the world didn't know it asked. The entire He was an answer to a prayer the world didn't know it had asked. Okay. He was an answer to a prayer the world didn't know it had asked. The entire galaxy owed its life to one man, this special sorcerer, this child. Grundle knew what he had to do. He had to keep the boy alive until the very end. Grundle, can you believe it? Goddess, it's just so amazing. She swept her arm across the entire expanse of the tree and everything around it, including the village and the hazy space beyond. Everywhere they looked, there was beauty, and she, his beloved. Grundle gripped his gauntlet and focused. If he didn't say it, if he didn't make a decision, if he didn't step forward and take the leap, who was he? A holy man of Zora or a coward? He moved to her and took her roughly into his arms. He felt a tingle as she let her body slip into his. He dropped to a knee, speaking gently into her perfectly formed, elegant jet black ear. Ayana, I must tell you something. He felt her breath, hard and heavy on his chest. They lingered for a long time. She nodded, whispered, Tell me, my friend. She wrapped her suddenly soft fingers around a fold of his shirt and let it slide between her lips. She whispered even lower that no one might hear. Tell me. He stared at her face, took it all in. He waited until their eyes were fixed upon one another's, and then he spoke. I love you. She closed her eyes, breathed into the scarred flesh of his collarbone. He felt her lips He felt her lips gently trace the line of a tattoo. He resumed, their bodies becoming even closer. I think I always have. She nodded again. Unsurprisingly, they were both moved to physical arousal, here in front of everyone. He willed his member to soften. She whispered, I think I knew it too. I think it's why I ran to you. I think it's why. She gulped in surprise emotion. I think it's why I was willing to die. On the asteroid. It was to save you. Grundle took in a deep breath. Beloved, I would renounce my service to the goddess and transfer my allegiance to the boy. She was stunned, clearly. Her nostrils were flaring. She flew out of his arms, eyes wide with fury. Grundle Ferkelet, you will do nothing of the sort. I forbid it. She was hot. He stepped back to give her fists the freedom to fly. They didn't. Grundle dropped to his knees. Lady Aeana, heir to House Ferul, I will love you until the end of heaven. I have pledged my life to you and to the goddess. I do not renounce my devotion or my love. I only ask that you allow me this kindness. He bowed his head, holding back fear. The boy needs a champion. He, not you or I, is the future of the galaxy. His is the force that must not fail. He stood, towering over her precious, beautiful frame. It was impossible not to notice her breasts, heaving as they were above her tunic's low collar. He took her tiny fingers in his hand. This is the path I must walk. Beloved Mother Aeana Stargazer, to you I have pledged my love. To Portillion I pledge my sword. Grant me leave to make this decision. Then you and I can finally try to do what we have longed to for so long. Since the first day of your arrival on Antares 2 years ago. She gasped, her free hand fluttering to her open mouth. She stepped back again and held back tears. Grundle, please tell me you're joking. I couldn't bear it if you were lying to me. He stepped in, let her feel his immensity. My love, my goddess, my everything. She slumped into his arms, let both of her legs wrap around one of his. He brought her whole body into his hands and carried her, past the bridge, past the soldiers and her brother, past the sea of smiling villagers, returned from their brief dance with nothingness, past the fountain and the tiny shops, past the houses and the churches and the fish drying sheds, past the outer wall and out into the great green beyond. And there they made love, and it was glorious. I do this for you, my goddess. I do it for you, only you, my love, my precious mystery. Aeana the Brave, wielder of secrets. Aeana, breaker of barriers, seer of seers, queen of temporal light, queen of everything. Aeana, Aeana, Aeana. See what I mean? Turns out that's a pretty important chapter. So I don't do a lot of like close up hardcore porno, but sometimes I like to use words as a sort of metaphor. The meter and flow, you know. I do it a lot in my poetry, but here I go. I do this for you, my goddess. I do it for you. Only you. My love, my precious mystery. Chapter 39. Teres. The idiot had given up the chase. What a fool. She could have used his power. She wondered if she could still consume him, eat him piece by piece. Would she be able to without being caught? No, of course not. Shit. Portillion, you did it. She smiled. They shared a moment, a real moment. Well, mostly real. But how real was she really? They would fuck that night. She would absorb some of that intense power and luxuriate. She would hallucinate, speak words of power. She wanted to kill so badly. Soon, my child. Soon. No, Therese. Portillion waved to everyone still on the field. We did it. She chuckled and patted him on the chest. Really, Port, you don't have to be so damn perfect all the time. He smiled. They shared a laugh. He pulled her tight, gripped her ass hard. He whispered into her perfect neck. I can't be perfect. I haven't broken you yet. She smacked him on the arm and pulled back, laughing. Portillion to fear. I am a priestess of her beloved mercy. You will treat me with the respect I am due. He smiled and dipped his head. You're right. I'm sorry, my beloved. I offer my deepest apologies. She took his hand and stared lovingly into his eyes. As soon as I can, I am going to eat you alive. Boy wizard, indeed. Horny Girl, Evil Demon, coming this fall to NBC. Chapter 40. Grundle. After their tryst, Aeana chose to stay in separate quarters with Therese. Portillion stayed with his new friend, whose name they'd learned was Pong Jung, in a small bungalow on the side of the great tree. Grundle stayed in a small house next to Aeana's, the honored guest of a family of villagers. The two houses had adjoining yards, with a large wooden gate between them. They kept it unlocked in case Grundle had to race to his mistress's rescue. He had not yet told Portillion about his choice to he had not yet told Portillion about his choice to transfer into his service. Aeana had said that the time would come. The moment would present itself soon. Until then, the two lovers would communicate in public in a strictly professional context. And, when it was appropriate, they would meet each other in private for any close physical contact. Grundle was a mass of conflicting feelings. He had never known such happiness or such fear. He also found himself racked with guilt. Joran was his friend, and he knew that the man felt the same way towards Aeana as he did. Trying to avoid some of the pops. Except now I can't see. How about now? Ah. How about now? I think I need some water. Of course, Jorn's love for Aeana could not be realized. He was too old, too tainted. His experiences and life choices had brought him the disregard of the Lunari and made him an unsuitable match for a woman of Aeana's great stature. So weird. Okay, here we go. But Grundle couldn't help feeling that he too was unworthy of her mercy's devotion. He had always been a servant, and he was a beast. They would never have offspring. He would always be less than the ideal mate, and he was not a perfect hero. Where she was righteous and devoted to the goddess, he would be seen as a killer, a monster who gave up his choice to serve the goddess for selfish reasons. Their match, if it survived this strange journey, would never aid her climb to legitimacy. It would stifle her ability to reach the highest heights of Lunari society. It might even jeopardize her ability to take her place at the head of the church. He prayed to the goddess, "Beloved Mercy, please shine your light upon this union. I know that I am unworthy, but I've never wanted anything more than this. I have served you faithfully, and I will continue as long as I live." As always, there was no response, other than a momentary feeling of peace before the fear settled back in. I just realized there was a line at the end that didn't make sense and I got rid of it. Oh, man. Grundle. Grundle is like my self pity, self doubt, the ego of the addict, just constant second guessing, or the ego of the anxiety ridden as well will work. Yeah, there's just no way to do this with that kind of mic. Mm. Oh, okay. What's next? That was 40. Let's go to 41. Chapter 41. Aeana. Beloved mother, are you sure? Are you prepared to accept the consequences of this decision? Therese asked in a deferential tone. Aeana flashed with anger, but stifled it as quickly as it came. She thumbed her comm device facing the window. You forget yourself, Therese. I am still your superior. Therese dipped her head. Forgive me, your mercy. I did not mean. I know what you meant, and it is of no consequence. I am second in line for the position of matriarch supreme. If, by the will of the goddess, we survive this mad journey, I will likely receive the honor. If that happens, who I choose to attach myself to will have no significance to anyone. She rose to her feet, setting down the device. Grundle has been my companion and confidant for nearly a year now, serving me faithfully and without reservation. He will make a wonderful partner. She turned to face the younger woman. As a woman of power yourself, you know what it's like to risk one's station for love. The unspoken subtext was obvious. Portillion was beneath Therese on the social ladder. His house was small, barely noble, and certainly nowhere near the Terusians in wealth or influence. His magic was impressive, But such things meant nothing to the powers that ruled Calustria. By pairing herself with Portillion, she too was weakening her family's position. Even when a woman entered the priesthood, they were expected to work to the benefit of their family. Aeona walked to the door and picked up her rack from the coat hook. As she left, she looked back over her shoulder. As the proverb states, no rule holds forever. She smiled. Maybe we'll be the ones who change it. Let me read that again. Maybe we'll be the one. Maybe we'll be the ones who change it. 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 Chapter 40. Oh, that's probably good for this leg. I'll talk at you next time. Reynold, he's coming back. What's he up to? How's he gonna feel about this shifting of allegiances, dating between expressions? Can it be done? What's going on? We'll see you next time. Oh, join me. Get on this show. I'd love to critique your work, have you on as a guest, whatever. Everything is awesome podcast at gmail.com and all the rest of it. Love you. Peace.